There's a growing trend in e-commerce where stores are adding more and more functionality to their footers. This might include an accordion section with links or FAQs, or a collection and product showcases with links, or even just a simple logo or image call to action. I'm seeing it all over the web right now, and today I'm going to show you how to add these 3 different footer sections to your store right now for free. All you have to do is copy and paste, no technical ability required. Test them out and see which fits your aesthetic the best so you can make the most of your store's design and functionality. My name is Nick, and if this video is helpful, please consider liking this and subscribing for more content like this every week. And drop me a comment if you have something you'd like to see built. Let's get started. Now, I would recommend actually adding all 3 of these footer sections to your theme. It only takes a couple minutes, and then you can decide which one looks the best for you and your brand. So we're going to start with this footer drop-down section, and all we have to do is go into our code. Now you'll see that I'm using my local code editor. If you are not using this, that's totally fine. Let me show you how you can navigate to this. All you have to do is go to your Shopify admin, go to your themes, and then you want to make sure that you're going to duplicate a theme so you don't change anything on production and break that. And then you're simply going to click this 3-dot menu, go to edit code, and then you'll see that you will have the exact same folder structure that I have here, and you can follow along. Now, I'm going to go back to my code, and you're going to go to the sections directory, and we're going to create a new file. And I'm just going to call this footer dropdown because I don't have a better name for it. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the entire file in. Normally I go section by section or piece by piece, but because I have 3 sections to show today, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Now there's nothing too important I want to point out here in the styles, but you'll see that we do have some media queries to make sure that this looks really good on mobile. And you're going to see that we do have some of these section settings here in place. So this is really just to make sure that we have customizable options for obviously the image, but then also for the text on the right side of the screen. So everything looks good here. We're going to continue down, and this is just for each of the 3 sections there. And then we have a little bit of JavaScript, and all this is doing is just giving that little animation for the opening and closing of the accordion. And then we have our section schema. So these are going to be all those customizable settings. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this file, and then I'm going to go back to my theme editor like this. I'm going to refresh, and then I should be able to come down to the footer, add section, and then you'll see footer dropdown. Okay, so this is what it looks like before we customize anything. Let's go ahead and add an image. I'm going to go ahead and add a vertical image. Cool. So this looks pretty good so far. I'm not going to go ahead and change the text because I think it looks fine, but I do want to test that the link works. Awesome. And then that button, the link exists in all 3 of these sections. So now I can come back to my preview here. I'm going to refresh, and I'm going to scroll down, and we can see our section right here. And it looks pretty good. If I do this accordion, it does a nice little animation for us. And then I can close those. And if I click on the link, and it looks like I forgot to save this link. So you could do this to an internal page. Obviously, I'm just going to do this just for the sake of testing. And now if I come back, I want to try that again. I will refresh. And now if I click on this link right here, you'll see that it does in fact work as intended. Okay, so everything looks good here. Let's check it out on mobile. So I'm pretty happy with this. I think that formats pretty well, and the accordion and that logic still works, of course, which is great. And of course, the link still works as well. So that is everything I needed to do for this first section. Let's move on to the next. All we have to do is the exact same steps, but this time we're going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it Footer Shopping Showcase because, again, I'm not great at naming, but hopefully this will be descriptive enough. .liquid. Again, make sure it's in that sections directory. And then I'm going to come and copy and paste this entire file. Again, make sure that you do the same so that you don't mess anything up. I will talk about it really briefly. Nothing too important here on the styles side of things, except I want to highlight that we have some media queries to make sure this looks good on a mobile responsive screen. Now, I will talk about this in just a little bit more detail in a moment, but we have our product showcase HTML/liquid. You'll see we're doing some liquid checks. It exists, and then showing that, of course, and then all of that data is being stored here in these blocks. Now, these blocks are very important because I wanted to make sure that you could add as many or as few as you would like. So I'm going to talk about this in just a minute, but if I save this file, I should be able to go back to my theme editor. Now in my theme editor, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide this one because I don't want to have multiple showing. I will click add section, and then we can see footer showcase right here. So now I'm going to come and I'm going to play with these blocks here. Now you'll see that we have a main image, which is great because it allows us to have a image that we show by default and then an image that will toggle when it's hovered on. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I've added 3 of these blocks here and added the image that I would like to. I did not add the link, but obviously you would want to do that in production. Now if I save this, I'm going to come to my preview here. I'm going to refresh, and we should have our new section. So you can see when I don't hover with the mouse, we have these product images. And then when I hover, they do this cool little swap, so it changes the photo. So I think this looks really nice. I'm going to go ahead and test it out on mobile. Now you'll see on mobile what happens is it shrinks the image just slightly, but it gives us this nice horizontal scroll, and it looks pretty sleek, I have to admit. Now, another cool thing that I added to this particular feature is that I wanted to make sure that it looked good on desktop as well as mobile, so I added a customization here. Now, this may not mean much to you if you're not familiar with the code, but let me just try to explain it. Basically, I wanted to make sure that when we're on a desktop screen, I only wanted it to show 3 of these images, and I didn't want it to scroll or anything. I just wanted it to be centered and look really sharp. Now, what happens is you can actually add as many as you want. So I will come in here to these blocks and I will copy and paste them again. This is a great feature, by the way. Okay, so now I have 6 blocks. You can see all 6 right here, but again, only 3 are going to show, and that's because I added this style to where anything after the 4th or later block, I'm not going to show on desktop. However, what happens is if I refresh this, so I have all 6, and then if I go to mobile, you'll see that I actually have all of them showing here. And that's because on mobile, we have this really cool side-to-side scrolling. So I hope this makes sense. And if you wanted to change this and say you wanted to display 4 or 5 of these on desktop, that's totally fine. All you have to do is come in right to this line of code right here and just change this to right now. It's only showing 3. So if you wanted to show 5, you would change this to 6 and so forth. So overall, I'm very happy with this section. Now let's move on to the third and final section. Again, we're going to do almost the same thing. We're going to come into our sections directory right here, and we're going to create a new file. And this one, I'm just going to call footerimage.liquid. Again, I'm going to copy and paste this entire file. And we will start from the top where, of course, there is all these styles with just a few of these customizable settings that are going to be applied in the styles. A couple colors that I added the important flag to, because sometimes, unfortunately, our global styles will take over and it will not listen to our local styles like we want them to. So you'll see we have some media queries here, again, making sure that this looks really sharp on mobile. And then you'll see that we have our liquid code here displaying a desktop image, a mobile image, and then our text, subtext, and button, of course. And then, of course, our schema that's actually holding and formatting all of that data for us. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go back to my theme editor. I'm going to give it a refresh. And now I'm going to hide the previous footer showcase we just had, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to add footer hero section. Now you'll see it's kind of hard to see. It's there, but there's nothing really showing. So what I'm going to do here, and this is very important, I wanted to make sure that we could add a separate image for the desktop version as well as the mobile image, because on desktop, this has to be a pretty wide photo. So these are the 2 photos that I'm going to use here. And you'll see on desktop, it's very, very wide, and it looks pretty sharp. And then on mobile, however, if I did this on mobile, it might look kind of funky because it's a pretty large image and I don't know where it's going to zoom into. So I made it easy, and I wanted to make sure that we just have a separate image. Now, the reason this is important is that you can, because of this, you're able to crop your image however you want, for it to show that way on mobile. So let me show you in a moment here. I'm happy with all of this. I'm not going to do a link, although I guess I will do a button URL because I want the button to show. I think it looks sharp. Okay, cool. Text says learn more. That's fine. I'm going to save this and look at all these different settings here. I'm not going to mess with them because I think it looks good this way. But if I save this, I will come back and I'm going to refresh my preview and it looks nice and simple, nice and clean. And if I click on it, the link does in fact work. So this is everything we wanted. Now let's check it on mobile. You'll see this mobile image looks great. It's centered exactly where I want it because it's a separate image. So your desktop image is going to have to be very wide. For your mobile image, it's going to have to be very portrait centered. So this is everything that I was looking for. So I'm very happy with this. I hope that this has been helpful and that one of these 3 different footers you will find useful and you can use in your theme. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be in the footer. These are kind of cool sections that you could really apply anywhere. But this is my guide to making the most of your Shopify store's footer. I hope it's been helpful. If this has been helpful, make sure to give me a like, subscribe, and drop a comment, and I will see you next time.